Hello, horrible people. Jesus Christ. Well, welcome to Death by Podcast, the best horror movie podcast in the graveyard. I am your host, Adam. That's your other host,
Evan.
And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you guys, I have COVID. I am not feeling good, but luckily Kevin and I do this podcast via Zoom, so I'm gonna battle my way through this whole thing because otherwise I'd just be sitting here staring at the wall. So thanks for tuning in, and thank you ahead of time for putting up with my voice. This is episode 49, and today, and Kevin had the letter P, so he chose, under my strong-arming almost, Phantasm, 1979, and we're going to get into that. But before we do that, we are going to talk about some things. Kevin, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I got to thank you for your pizzazz. If you guys listen to our Little Shop of Horrors episode from like 3 weeks ago or so, we had a little discussion about a nice little pizza maker called the Pizzazz. And the gas company shut my gas off for like 2 weeks. And all of a sudden I walk outside one day and Kevin had mailed me or had one of his minions drop off. Who dropped it off, by the way?
Friend of the show, Katie, dropped it off.
Oh, Katie did?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Thanks, Katie. So yeah, there was a Pizzazz at my door, and that thing is awesome. I mean, it'll cook anything. I experimented, and I made the video.
Yeah, you were doing things I never even thought to cook on, man. But yeah, it was it was cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I mean, I made like eggs and pizza, and I don't even know. I made everything. Burgers.
When you did the eggs, I was like, oh shit.
The egg was crazy, but what an awesome little machine. So go back and listen to us talk about Pizzazz. But Kevin, thank you so much. That was really awesome. I also want to give top of the show a shout out to my friend Josh, who is a listener to the show, friend of the show, and he got me some groceries during this COVID time and had them delivered to my house. So that was really cool. Thank you, Josh. This is not a fun thing to have, and I'm not breaking any ground, but luckily it could be a lot worse. Luckily, I'm vaccinated and boosted and all that stuff, and got it at this point rather than early. But you guys be careful. I mean, it is not fun. I'm hopefully at the tail end of it. The beginning was one of the most painful nights I could ever remember, with the headache and stuff. So anyway, I have a bunch of what'd you watch, but you had some news you wanted to share before we get into that.
Yeah. There's a bunch of news this week. One is they're doing Spirit Halloween, the movie.
What?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What is that?
I don't know. It's starring Christopher Lloyd, though. And I tell you what, all these websites are like, what is it? Whatever. And I don't know that this is going to be like, I remember that they had the same reaction to the Lego movie, but the Lego movie was like a big deal. Also, like I remember, I don't know if it was a Goosebumps movie before the Jack Black movie. The fact that Christopher Lloyd signed on, he does a lot of like straight to DVD kids stuff. You know what I mean? That like you don't even know exists. I'm like, and even so, like, hey man, if it's called Spirit, like whatever, like, but everybody's like, oh, look, and there's a lot of idiots on the internet that like, who cares what it's called? What if it's a cool movie and it's just called Spirit Halloween? Like, what, you know? I mean, if it takes place in a Spirit Halloween store, you know?
I didn't realize that Spirit Halloween store was. For some reason I thought it was local, but it's not.
I guess not. No, I mean it's.
For people who don't know, Spirit Halloween stores are like the coolest, biggest chain of Halloween stores out there. That's really weird that they're doing. I don't know. That's a cool concept, I guess.
Yeah,
it could be something. Christopher Lloyd, though, he recently got cast in Star Wars. I don't know if it's the next season of Mandalorian or Obi-Wan or something. He's going to be in something. But up until lately, he's just been producing stuff, as far as I know. I mean, and he does all that weird straight to DVD stuff too.
Sure. He's cool. Yeah. I like Christopher Lloyd. He was nice. I got to do a Q&A with him.
Oh, really?
Time.
For what?
I got booed. So they did a Back to the Future anniversary. That movie theater by my house has all these big events. And I think it was for the 30th anniversary. I'm not sure.
Marty.
It was. So basically they were having a screening of the movie and they had a signing and he was there. Leia Thompson was there. I think Biff was there.
That's cool.
And Strickland was there. Yeah, they did a whole panel, and then they did a signing before that. My buddy, I didn't bring anything to get signed. My buddy got the hat from Back to the Future 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He got that signed. Yeah. I wish I would have done that. But I got to ask him a question and I got booed, which I think is stupid because some of the questions that
What'd you get at? What did you ask?
I asked what it was like to work with Hulk Hogan in Suburban Commando because I was like, I want to ask him something he doesn't get like a lot.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, people booed me.
Booed you? Like, why? Like because of the question?
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah. I think they thought I was making fun of him because Suburban Commando is so stupid. Have you seen Suburban Commando?
Maybe when it first came out, when Hulk Hogan was like popular.
Yeah.
Do you think they booed you because of Hulk Hogan?
I don't know. Maybe.
Like,
I got booed and I'm like, really? And Christopher Lloyd was just like, I mean, I didn't get like, shit thrown at me or anything, but there were a couple of boos and like Uggs. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Maybe it's like, hey, we're here for Back to the Future. Don't bring up. I mean, I guess what if I would have brought up like, what was Danny DeVito like in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Like, I guess it makes sense. We're there for Back to the Future.
Or a taxi question or something like that. Like,
yeah, but I wanted to ask him something that he doesn't get asked a lot. And he was like, he was nice. It was a good day.
He answered your question.
He was a nice guy. I mean,
Man, that's just like those people who, if you're listening to this and you were one of those people that booed Kevin, go fuck yourself. Because like on a normal day, I'd say go fuck yourself. But also when somebody gets creative and asks like a question outside of the box that's a perfect example. Like every question he gets is for Back to the Future. Yeah. So if I saw him, I would absolutely ask him something like mine would be like Taxi. It would be like, or something like that.
But you know what's funny? He creative. So even with all the other questions, even like the stupid questions, and I think this is in like every interview I've seen him in. He's not like I'll tell you a story. Like he's like, he was nice. Yeah, it was cool. Like he doesn't, but he's not being a prick because like someone else asked him. I remember, and this didn't get booze. Somebody asked him when the Blu-ray was coming out for what? Back to the Future. The Blu-ray hadn't been released yet, and they hadn't even announced it. But like. Somebody asked him when the Blu-ray was coming out, and he's like, I'm not really in charge of that.
Yeah, shut up. Jeez.
But like that, but like he could have been a real prick about it, like, and yeah, he's just like, yeah.
Do I look like someone that handles?
I mean, yeah, I've seen him get interviewed and go like, yeah, this is the role of a lifetime. It changed my life. I'm so happy. People love it. Like I've seen him go into it about that, but in other Q&As, yeah, he's really like, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was neat. Whatever, but
dude, I remember like because that's what I always do. I remember it just makes me think of when I asked Brian Bendis, the comic book writer.
Yeah,
I put him on the spot during a Q&A and asked him an off the wall question like that, and like the whole thing just stopped. It was just like, and I was like, "What? We're here. Like, not everything needs to be like sucking the guy's dick."
What'd you ask him?
It's a convoluted story, but at the time he was writing. It was during like his Avengers run, his new Avengers stuff and all that.
Yep.
And Norman Osborn was like becoming the head bad guy in the universe. And he had this guy behind him all the time in the shadows. He was like his muscle. Nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, I remember that.
And there was you'd always see Norman Osborn in the shadow. And I was a huge fan of the Sentry who he had brought back.
I hated the Sentry.
Oh man, he's one of my favorites. But like I asked him point blank, I was like, the guy in the shadows, it's the Sentry, right? And he was like, it was supposed to be a secret reveal eventually. And he's like, he stood there and it was just dead silence, like crickets. He's like, and then finally he's just like, read the book. And I was just like, you son of a bitch. I was like, thanks. That answers it. It's him. And then afterwards, after the panel, I actually ran into him. I was like, hey man, sorry if I put you on the spot. He's like, don't worry about it. It's the Sentry. I was like, yeah, I knew it. Nah, dude. I have a big problem with fans that like, it's like they're only fans of the mainstream thing. And when you throw something else at them, that's not, they're like, what is that? Get out of here. Whatever. Anyway, you got more news?
Yeah. Trailer came out for Stranger Things season 4.
I'm glad you brought it up. Did you watch it?
I didn't. Did you?
I did. Do you like Stranger Things?
I like it but like, it's one of those shows where if it got canceled, like I wouldn't care at all.
Well, I think this is the final season. I could be wrong.
I think they're doing 5.
Oh, okay. This is 4.
I don't know.
Okay.
I really didn't like the second season. I like this third season better, but I'm still like, whatever.
I think that, there's a lot of stuff that I think we might have mentioned this, but like there's a lot of stuff that tries to catch that 80s vibe and fails miserably. This show, I feel like gets it.
Yeah.
Especially with the music and the original music like the score and the music that they use. I don't remember season 2. Season 1 was great. I don't remember 2 very much. 3 I really loved because of Billy, the older brother.
Yeah, he was the best. I liked him a
Yeah.
lot, and he made me think like what you were saying is they get the 80 because you'll see like 80 stuff, and it'll be 20 things from the 80s that people wouldn't have worn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at the same time, or
Yeah.
like certain people wore like leather jackets with spikes, but they
Right.
didn't also wear like parachute pants. Like
I
it was
did.
just at both of them.
No, I wore parachute pants.
But I mean, that's the thing. Some people wore parachute pants, but they didn't also have like a mohawk.
No,
you know,
I didn't have a mohawk.
and they don't overdo it. Like
Yeah.
Billy, he looked like he was from the 80s.
Billy was, his character was spot in his car and just everything about him.
Yeah, and his hair.
His hair was the bomb.
They didn't overdo his hair and make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they do that, they did it like how you actually did it.
Yeah. The trailer looks really good though. It's it looks like it might have more focus on Billy's sister and what happened with Billy. We were talking about aliens on the Patreon podcast, and it triggered in my brain. Paul Reiser's in this new season.
Oh, neat. I like Paul Reiser.
I haven't seen him in forever. And it looks like they finally gave, up until this point, the villain, or there hasn't really been a villain. It's just been like a monster or whatever. I guess you could call that the villain. But we see it's almost like minions that are constantly coming out of the what's it called? The underwear or
the upside down.
Upside down. But in this trailer, it looks like they're personifying the villain, the evil. And it's like there's like a actual like person demon looking thing with, instead of just a rabid dog, that demon dog or whatever. So that looks cool. And I'm wondering if that is going to end up being Billy in there, in that body or something. I don't know. But yeah, no, it looks great. I'm excited. I really dig that show. Winona Ryder, man. I really like what she's done in that.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. What else? News? Any Zombie Watch?
Yeah, that was actually, so like the other news actually ties into Zombie Watch. Big casting news.
Oh shit. Wait, for Monsters?
Yes.
Can I guess? I don't know, but can I guess?
Sure.
All right.
It's not Eddie.
Eddie. Oh, it's right. We haven't seen Eddie Munster.
Yeah, there's been no trace of Eddie.
So who are we missing? We've got Herman, we've got Lily, we've got Grandpa. Are those the only 3 that they've announced? Some stupid ass neighbor, right? The neighbor guy.
Well, they've announced other people, but nobody from like the main cast. Like, was it Marilyn as the niece, right?
Oh, have they announced? All right, is it?
No, they haven't. No, it's not her.
All right, so they announced Nicole Kidman is going to play Marilyn.
They did announce that?
No, I'm guessing. This is my guess.
Oh no, they didn't announce Marilyn. It's another bit part. It's another like
it's De Niro. De Niro? You got De
Niro? No, Dee Wallace is being cast.
Oh, really? That's cool.
As
I guess
the host, the host of Good Morning Transylvania.
Really?
So seemingly there's going to be a TV show that somebody's on
within the show. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Good Morning America type show.
Yeah. Good Morning Transylvania.
She's probably going to be. It's probably going to be. I mean, probably going to be something Lily's watching in the living room, or like in the kitchen,
like a reoccurring thing. I'm telling you, man, that just adds to the fucked upness. Like, I love Dee Wallace, and not that she is a sign of something weird to come, but I'm telling you, man, this show is going to be so terrifying. It's going to be one of those shows. It's like, it's going to be presented as not as like a, what is it? PG?
It's PG.
Like a PG. Here's a PG movie, but it's going to be rated X at its like behind the curtain. Like it's going to be so gruesome and gross and weird, but people won't see it. They won't realize that that's what they're watching. It'll be totally subliminal.
Okay. Whatever you say. I'm telling you, I think it's going to be.
Telling you, it's going to be disturbing. So disturbing.
I think it's going to be lighthearted fun.
Lighthearted fun. Oh my God. I love it. What else you got? They haven't that's crazy. They haven't cast Eddie Munster yet.
Yeah. It's wild.
I mean, what are you going to do? It's going to be a kid. We won't know. So anyway.
No, maybe they'll cast a real werewolf. Who knows? That's pretty much it.
Okay. Let's see. What'd you watch? What you said you watched something?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
What'd you watch?
I watched 2 things. One was I watched the first episode of Cursed Films season 2.
Of what? Oh, Cursed Films.
Yeah, which is The Wizard of Oz.
Oh wow. Yikes.
Yeah. And they released the list of the rest of the movies, but the Wizard of Oz one was really awesome.
Was it?
Yeah, it's cool because they cover all the stuff, that you think about, like that, or that you hear about, like the original Tin Man almost died, from they had a different actor that almost died from the paint that they painted him with.
Oh wow, yikes!
All sorts, and they explain like what happened and why they did, But like the little person, the munchkin that hung himself in the background.
Yeah,
that's really funny because what I like about the show
is it really? I always thought it wasn't official. Was it really?
Well, what's funny is like I would have always been like, no, it's not real.
I always said it was, but it was a goose.
Well, here they break it down. There's different cuts.
Okay.
There's a version with the goose that they went in and reshot.
Oh, really?
With like a bird where that is.
Yeah, yeah.
There's another version with a guy that is, where the goose isn't there. Like there's that shot of them walking with the bird there. They went back and reshot that later and edited it back in. But what's funny is like they interview a bunch of people and they interviewed this one guy who was like, no, it's total bullshit.
Okay.
It's this is what happened. He breaks down like why it's bullshit. And it makes a really good case. But then they also have this other guy who I've seen in movies. He's really great. I think he owns a video store. And he's like, no, it's definitely real. He's like, you have to have the right copy. He's like, I have one. And he's like, he puts two TVs next to each other. And he's like, here's the one with the goose. Here's the other one. Clearly, what is that? Like, that's something. And that's not. He's like, that. I'm convinced that's what that is. And like, I don't know. It's funny because there's the whole thing about like, no, well, clearly that's probably bullshit. But then why would you why would you go back in and reshoot?
Exactly.
Like unless
it was just to get away from the visual talk. So it changes. I don't know.
Maybe, but like, it really.
There's not like the episode doesn't give you a definitive answer. It's still ambiguous.
Yeah, it's kind of ambiguous. They don't come out and say like, it's basically which one of these two guys do you believe? Which
means that like, I wonder when the one that they changed to the actual goose or whatever, the bird.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder when that version of it came out. Like, when did they change that?
Well, there's only one. So there's a million different reprints of the VHS, they've had different whatever. There's only one. It's the first VHS release, like the first version of the VHS that has it.
That has the actual guy hanging.
Yeah, because VHS really, like, you couldn't back in the day when a movie came out. That was it, unless like they put it back in theaters.
Yeah,
you'd see it then. But like VHS were really like people weren't buying VHS tapes until like the late 80s. There's two. Check it out. It's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically there's one cut of it, and it might explain why they didn't. That's the other thing. Like, why would they even release that VHS?
Unless it's got to be one of those things like an urban legend that like the original VHS, all of a sudden somebody saw in the background like, hey, what is that? And then it turned into this story of like, it's a little person that hung themselves. That story gets going. The studio gets wind of it. And they're like, hey, we need to stop people talking like this. So they edit it to a bird, but they edited the bird so it still looks like someone's hanging back.
But this thing's in front of it's weird. I don't know. It's like, why? I don't know. Watch it and see what you think.
I'll definitely check it out. Definitely. What's that on?
And it's on Shudder. It's one of the better episodes of.
I'll check it out.
I
love that movie, and I just rewatched it like a few months back. I'm interested to see that because of that. I love it.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's really good. And yeah, they also released the other movies.
Okay.
It's Stalker, which I don't know.
Stalker.
Rosemary's Baby.
Ooh.
And those two are available now. But episode 5 is Cannibal Holocaust.
Cannibal Holocaust. I've never seen that. Have you seen
here we go. It's The Serpent and the Rainbow, which I don't know what that is.
Serpent and Rainbow is what's the president's name in Independence Day?
Bill Pullman.
Pullman. So it's Pullman, and it's about voodoo zombies, like the voodoo version.
Yeah.
He's like a writer or something, and he goes investigating whether this is an actual thing that happens, and it ends up happening to him. Dies and comes back. It's a crazy Serpent in the Rainbow. Yeah, pretty sure that's the one. I haven't seen it since I was a kid for some reason, but
Rosemary's Baby, Wizard of Oz, and Stalker are out now, and
Stalker,
Serpent in the Rainbow is next, and then Cannibal Holocaust.
I wonder if Stalker is that. It's a sword and sorcery movie. Stalker. I wonder if that's it. I wonder if it is. That's awesome. Cool. I'm gonna check those out. What else? Did you watch something else?
Yeah. This isn't. I feel like this is still a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely not labeled one, but it's not crazy when you watch it through that lens. I watched Problem Child 2 because
Problem Child 2
specifically.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because Gilbert Gottfried died.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not everybody liked him. I thought he was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I've always liked him. And yeah, Problem Child 1. I've seen a bunch. I mean, I haven't seen him in years.
A horror movie.
But the second one, I watched a lot more. And I feel like the second one is a lot like Home Alone, where like in the first one, he's like mischievous. He's like a Dennis the Menace type. I mean, but he's still like, he's way worse than the Home Alone kid in the first one. In the second one, they like bring it to 11, man.
Really?
Like, oh yeah. Like there's a scene where he's playing baseball with he's on like a little league team. He like, I think he swings the bat and like loses it, and this coach is just like, hold on to the bat, like, and everybody on the other team's making fun of him. And the whole thing is like, hold on to the bat. You have to hold on to the bat. So like, then he hits the ball. And then when he runs the bases, he beats all the kids around the bases with his bat. It's like, that's awesome. I mean, it's played like a cartoon, but like the shit he does in that movie is like fucking wild, man.
I've never seen one of those movies and I've always wanted to. John Ritter's in those too, right?
Yeah. He's the dad. He's the main guy.
Yeah.
He's great in them too, man. Like I feel like it would be hard to do a character and have sympathy for this guy when his kid is this fucking rotten.
Yeah.
But
like, you're the dad. What the fuck, man?
Yeah. But he makes it work. And like where you even feel bad for the kid. Really? Well, the kid's an orphan. He's,
Oh, okay.
And
so he's adopted. The kid. Oh,
yeah. He gets adopted in the first one. And John Ritter's wife
might be like Satan rotten. For all you know.
You should watch these, man. You got COVID. You're laying around. Yeah. Watch both of them.
Is Godfrey in both of them?
Yeah.
When Godfrey died, my brother texted me. He was like, you should watch, because I watched there's a documentary on Peacock about Godfrey. Really good documentary. I didn't know. But anyway, my brother, I told him about it and he was like, you should watch Problem Child.
I've actually been meaning to watch that.
The documentary is really good. I didn't realize Godfrey was as dirty as he was.
Oh yeah, man.
I mean, he's like one of the top dirtiest.
Yeah.
But along with that, he was also a big horror movie fan, like classic Universal. And he was on Svengoolie all the time. And you guys know I'm a huge Svengoolie fan. They were like really good friends, those two. So yeah, it was really, and plus we grew up with Gilbert Gottfried, like,
I mean, he was in everything. He was in all the kids' movies. He was.
Where would we have seen him first? I was trying to think, like, why did I as a kid know Gilbert Gottfried?
I knew him from the Prob Child movies. But like other people probably saw him in Aladdin.
Never seen him. I don't know what it was.
He plays a parrot in Aladdin.
He was like classic, and he was just like there. He's been around in the entertainment sphere for decades. But the documentary is crazy, like giving you insight into how he was, I guess. Rest in peace, Gilbert Gottfried. What else? You got anything else?
No, that's it for news.
So I watched just a couple things. The Walking Dead. So this is in their final season right now, and they're dividing it into 3 chapters. And and chapter 1, chapter 2 just ended. So I watched the whole thing, but I watched the finale of chapter 2, and then it comes back later on this year. And it's like we went through like 3 or 4 seasons of like really shitty stuff, and I love that show.
I haven't watched it since season 2.
Man, I've been watching it since day 1, and I'd say the first 4 or 5 seasons are like really solid, and then especially if you're a fan of the comic, it translates like almost verbatim. But then it went off weird, and most of it was acting bad. But anyway, then it went through a few seasons of just absolute garbage. But the last season or 2 have been really good, and especially this one, like they upped their game big time. You can tell like there's like consequences, and there's people dying that you're like, holy shit. Like I thought that character would stick around, which Walking Dead was kind of like before there was Game of Thrones, at least in
the comics, show. That was what was cool about the comic.
Walking Dead set that standard of like no one's safe. If you want to go back and check it out, I think especially this final season, it's pretty good. Also, I finished Chucky finally.
Oh yeah,
whenever you get a chance to catch up, we need to do like a whole show on just the movies and the show. But the show, man, is just fucking great. Make sure you watch, what is it, the AMC version or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's Sci-Fi and
oh yeah, okay.
I didn't realize I had got the TBS version until like halfway through. I'm like, this isn't that bad. What the fuck?
Yeah. They just edit out the F-bombs in the TBS version, but it's solid, man. And it's, everybody from all the movies is in it. They brought back everybody, and the finale was great. Sets up season 2, which is happening. I love, like, every time you watch a show, there's like somebody, a character from the show that goes previously in Chucky,
Yeah.
and then they show what happened. For this show, they use there's a little girl in it who's like 4 or 5, maybe 6 at most. She does the last episode, and she says, it's just her voice. She says, previously in fucking Chucky. Like a little 6-year-old girl. But that's the show, man. They don't care. It's all out there. And it works for this, because that's what Chucky is. Chucky is like, he's like, fuck you, like that's Chucky. And then the last one was I revisited Return of the Living Dead when I got sick, just like thinking about those two guys, James Karen and what's the other dude?
Oh God, I'm drawing blank on his name.
Yeah, and that movie is just so great and like insane and crazy. It's just crazy.
It's a masterpiece. You guys,
Karen spends the whole movie just running around screaming.
Yeah, both of them do. They're the best part of the whole movie.
It's insane. But I love, man, the punks, and like the scene where I posted it on the Instagram where like they're like, it starts raining, acid rain and shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is that? You hear that? And then all of a sudden it cuts to the skeleton comes out of the grave. And then it's like, do you want a party?
Yeah, man. It's great. It's so good.
It's such a good movie. But I want to watch part 2. Or
yeah, I can find part 2.
It's not streaming anywhere as far as I can tell. I don't know. I looked for it.
I think I have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can get that to you.
Yeah, I want to, because I love that one too. That's good. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's solid. It's just it's like Jaws 2.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, this is fine. This is good. This is a quality movie. It's just like the first one's a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, it's good. Linnea Quigley, man, she's a weirdo, and like when she turns into the zombie, the way she walks is really weird. And every time they show her, there's that prosthetic they added to her jaw and to make her mouth wider, because she's always just taking bites out of people real fast. It's like a quick cut. It's crazy. That's all I got. Should we get into this? You got anything else?
Nope.
So, friend of the show, Eric Wolfgang, does our art, made a really cool suggestion that since what we do is sort of vintage and VHS related, which is the qualifier for the most part, that we give folks that we read the actual VHS, the back of the VHS for the movies that we do, because sometimes you guys haven't seen them and you don't know what they're about. So here's Phantasm, where the dead are no longer that way. When two brothers uncover the startling secret of the living dead following the murder of their friend, what seems like a horrible, unending nightmare becomes a terrifying reality. A mortuary's embalming cellar is the site for supernatural evil, including a floating sphere with razor-sharp protruding daggers, which seeks out victims and drains the blood of from their heads. As the brothers learn more and more about what is really going on at the Morningside mortuary, they get deeper into trouble until it may be too late to escape. The point of that Eric brought up of reading these is that sometimes they can be complete BS. Sometimes they're spot on. I think that's a little misleading. I mean, later on, because we only see the ball in this movie a couple times, but later on in the series, they really lean into this the ball, how he uses them and stuff.
I wanted to talk about the ball.
And so we will. Did you like the movie? You'd never seen it.
I did. Yeah, I had never seen it, and it was one that it's one that completely. It's one of those things where I don't think my video store carried it, or maybe I just didn't ever pay attention to it. It just wasn't on my radar at all. And then when you brought it up, and then when I did my research, I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is a thing. People fucking love this movie.
Oh yeah, big time, man. These VHS covers were like, I was like, man, I want to see that Angus Scrimm on the front.
Right.
Of most of them. That dude, apparently he's one of the nicest people like on earth, or was. He passed in like 2016.
I saw him. I'm like, this guy's dead. Like, I didn't even look up like if he had done anything else. I was just like,
I wanted to, and I didn't. I don't think he did much. But the last movie, Phantasm Ravager, was in 2016. I think he passed like either right after or during the filming, which I haven't seen that one. I've only seen, I think I saw two, maybe one of the other ones, but I want to watch them all now because I had seen this before a couple times and I've always liked this movie, but I want to see because Reggie, the guy with the ponytail,
Yeah.
he becomes the star of the franchise.
I know that was the one thing I did notice, that like he's in the rest of.
Yeah. And he's kind of, it's weird because in this movie, he's kind of he's not a main character. He's part of the crew, but you know, this movie was 79 and then the next one doesn't come out until 88. And in that time, Ash Williams from Evil Dead became a character and Reggie becomes very much like Ash from Evil Dead. He has this like cool ass shotgun that's like comes to a point. It's like 4 barrels. It's weird, which becomes like a trademark of his character. And just the fact that he's like a bald dude with a ponytail who drives an ice cream truck is like, it's part of his character. You know?
Yeah. It reminded me of when I saw that, it reminded me of Tremors, where like they take the guy, I forget his name, the guy with the elephant gun in the first one. Everybody was like, that guy's the shit.
Mr. Keaton. You talking about Mr. Keaton from Family Ties?
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. It is. It is Alex. Not Alex. It's
Alex was Michael J.
Alex
Fox.
Is Michael J. Fox. Oh yeah. What is it?
It's his dad. I forget his name.
I forget about that. I always forget that's him. But yeah, he wound up being basically, he's got a bigger part in 2, but he's still not the main character. But then the rest of them,
of them were all him.
It's all him. And yeah, I mean,
it's crazy. These weren't like bigger movies compared to the Tremors sequels, but directed by Don Coscarelli, who did all the movies. I don't know anything of his outside of these. Reggie Bannister plays Reggie.
Yeah. It seems like he's in that guy. I looked at his filmography. Yeah. It's all like horror movie. It gets, you know what I mean? He seems like he's Reggie. He's really? Good. He seems like he's just good friends with Don Coscarelli.
So you know, does that mean Coscarelli did other like horror stuff? Is that what
I don't know. I think so. I think he produced and but he's involved in most of the stuff he's involved in.
Okay. Michael Baldwin plays Mike, the young kid.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get Jody, the guy who plays Jody. I didn't get that actor's name.
I got his name. Bill Thornby.
Okay. And then of course Angus Scrimm is the tall man, which there's a movie now called Tall Man. I think I talked about it last week.
Yeah.
It's weird that they took that because the tall man as a character is a pretty prominent character in horror mythos, played by Angus Scrimm. It's weird that they made a movie that has nothing to do with it, but I love this cast, man. I love that there's these 3 dudes that get on the same page. You know, if there's none of this keeping secrets or not telling what each other, like the Killer Clowns thing, you know?
Yeah. There's no like, well, I mean, Jody doesn't believe Mike like
at first
for way too long.
Well, who would though? But
yeah, that's true. I like that once he shows him the finger, he's like, all right. I Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah. Wait, what does he say? What's the line?
We're leaving. We're leaving in Event Horizon.
So good. So right off the bat, the weirdest part of this movie for me is that Angus Scrimm is sort of luring his victims by becoming this hot chick and like having sex with them in the graveyard, and then he turns back into the tall man. It's like, that's weird.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. Like, and I don't know if they get into this in more detail in the other movies, like what's going on. Like, are they aliens? Are they, what is it? They're like creatures from another dimension, basically, right?
One of the movies, I think it's number 3. If you read the synopsis, it says, it mentions aliens. And I wonder if and I haven't watched number 3, but I wonder if that's a reference to the tall man being an alien.
I mean, once they found the portal, I was like, oh, they're aliens. Okay.
All right. I mean, I guess that makes him an alien. Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it is weird that he like just appears like as the whatever, especially like, you don't have to do that, man. Like you can
do what?
Like, you don't have to be having sex with somebody and then change into your like old man body right before you kill him. You can just stay the girl. I think he does that later, but
with Jody.
Yeah.
That's like, a hilarious scene.
Yeah. You can just, you know, you don't have to do that to somebody, you know, but it's weird, but it's also like, well, you look at it like, I don't know. I took it in my head canon. It worked that they're They're probably like beings that have.
Yeah, I buy that they're aliens.
Yeah,
that works. I never thought about them like that. It was more like a evil demon situation, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it would to me like it would make sense. Like when I really like think about it, like why he's he's kind of goofy looking. He doesn't look. Yeah, he doesn't look like you would do a double take if you saw him in Walmart.
Oh, absolutely.
And like maybe that in my head it's like there's a there's a character in Star Trek. His name's Odo, and he doesn't have like his face is just like he doesn't have a nose or he doesn't have any like distinguishing things on his face. It's like just like a putty, like a Play-Doh face, but he has two eyes and a mouth, and he doesn't have ears. Like it's all just like flush. And the idea is that his species is like a gelatinous blob all the time, but like he's constantly focusing to try and look human, and like this is as close as he can get.
Like, so, like he can change his face, or are you talking about just
he's like a full-on shapeshifter. Like he can turn into a bird. Later on he gets better at it. He could turn into a bird and stuff. He could turn into a desk. He could turn to whatever he wants. Yeah, he's not that good at it yet, and he's trying to. He can't make a nose.
Oh, okay. So he can't just turn into a Brad Pitt and walk around.
No, he has to look like this. But he has to every 12 hours. I think he has to turn back into goo and sleep in a bucket.
Shut up. Oh my god.
And they call it a bucket, which is weird. They don't even say like I've bagged it to my container. They call it like,
oh my god, like my containment unit or some shit like
no,
that.
They call it a bucket.
Oh my god. Star Trek, you're a piece of work.
It's awesome. Odo rocks.
I need to watch one of those. Is that on the Professor X episodes?
No, that's on Deep Space Nine.
Oh, okay. Deep Space Nine. I don't think I've gotten there yet. I don't think I've experienced that. What did you think of the little Jawas? Speaking of the aliens.
I wrote Jawas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The satanic Jawas.
What year did this come out? 79?
79.
I wonder if like, because they're just Jawas, except they don't have the eyes.
Right.
And I wonder if it was like, because the eyes would like, if they had red eyes, they'd look even more like Jawas, like glowing eyes, but they would look cooler.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder if that was like a shit. Too bad we can't do that because Star Wars did it. Because they look so much like Jawas.
Well, they did red though. I mean, Star Wars didn't do red eyes until Mandalorian. I mean,
they did. I didn't know they did red eyes. I don't remember.
Yeah, the in Mandalorian they're called off-world Jawas, like not on Tatooine, because they're on different worlds and they have red eyes. It's weird instead of yellow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I
think that would be cool.
They looked, they were, and man, that was the weirdest thing. Like, and that they brought it up and they mentioned it, but like that, like when he's fighting the one, and then he gets in the car and he sees that it's his dead friend.
Right.
In my head, I'm like, wait, but he's 3 feet tall. Like he's a tiny person, and they bring it up like they made him 3 feet tall, but that's it. They don't address like what is going on. Like, what is this? Like,
well, they kind of talk about there's this weird like real quick exposition dump where after that scene when they pull the Jawa out of the car that has his friend's face, and they're putting him in the ice cream truck, into Reggie's ice cream truck, and like you hear it's like post edit whatever it's called or vocal stuff, and you hear Reggie go, he's like, why are they so small? It's only 3 feet. Like where? And he says a couple lines, and then later
what happened?
Yeah,
like,
and then,
did they grow him? Did they like?
Well, later on they go. Remember when Mike gets sucked into the portal and he sees the Jawas like marching and doing things in the red place? For some reason, when Mike gets pulled back in by Jody, he knows this stuff. And remember, he says like they're crushing them down. They're his slaves. He's making these slaves, and they're crushing them down because of gravity and whatever on their planet. Like they have to be smaller. It's weird. So basically,
it's a lot of explanation to be like,
basically they're taking dead people, using dead people to make slaves, but he wants them to be these shorter things. And so to do that, I mean, there's no explanation as to actually why.
I mean, it's weird. There's so much like, well, you could have just made, if you wanted to bring back like, the dead, he's bringing back dead people as part of his army. You could have just done that. Like, you don't need them to be little people. Or if you want to do little people, I guess you don't really need it to be like, it's a whole thing. Like,
it's a cool juxtaposition though, because he is so abnormally tall the tall man, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then he's got these like, even if he had regular people as his minions, he'd still be taller, but he's like squishing him down even more so that he's like this towering dude over these guys. I'm really curious because it's been so long since I've seen number 2 or any of the other ones. If I've seen them, I'm really curious how that relationship, I'm sure they go into it right off the bat. Like when they introduce the tall man, and I love the scene where Mike's like spying on the tall man after the funeral, and he sees the tall man lifting they make a point to show the pallbearers like struggling with this coffin of their buddy. And then they show the tall man just lifting it by himself, and he throws it in the back of the hearse.
That was neat.
And then later on, Mike said, like they talk about it, he's like, I saw him do this thing. I love that this movie does that. It's like nothing was really throwaway.
It was definitely. Yeah. You want to hear a joke that I heard once when I was a pallbearer?
Sure.
It was a pretty ballsy joke.
Am I gonna have to edit it out?
No. I gave the guy props that told me this joke because it could have landed very flat. I was a pallbearer at this funeral.
Yeah.
Very sad. But I was kind of young. I think it might have been college. Pallbearer, it was very heavy, this coffin.
Yeah.
We were all really, really trying not to drop it.
Yeah, I've done it too. Afterwards,
one of the people at the funeral go, you know why it's so heavy? I said, why? It's dead weight.
Jesus Christ.
I always thought that was funny. And like,
rough.
You know what, man? You took a risk. You don't really even know me that well. I could have been like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, touche. That is funny. Touche. That's a funny joke.
Oh,
and it only works at funeral. And I bet he tries it at a lot of funerals.
And it doesn't go
well.
Jeez.
I've always appreciated that. For not that good of a joke.
Yeah. It's pretty obvious joke too.
Like high risk, low reward.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I dug that.
My favorite part of this movie is like the 3 dudes, like I mentioned earlier, where it's like once they get on the same page, it's like this really cool, cohesive. They have a mission. They have a unified goal and like mission that they want to do as far as like figuring out what's going on and stopping the tall man. I just feel like for a 1979 horror movie, you don't really get to see this sort of dynamic a lot. They've got like this badass car, like the dude's black, whatever Impala or whatever that is. They've got weapons for some reason, like a lot of guns. None of them are like fumbly or Three Stooges like, as far as
they're all capable.
They're capable,
absolutely.
And I really dig that you get that this crew. It's for some reason it reminded me of like Aliens, and how the fact that like with the colonial Marines like are going after the bad things and they're not going to stop until they get it done. You don't see that. Usually there's a lot of like, accidental shit in movies like this of this time. I never picked up on that. It's a really cool dynamic to have that. I love that like they also like play some music to like even like together the guitar scene, which even more like solidifies their bond.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I really did like that in the beginning when like he's walking in and he's got the guitar and then they just sit and they jam. I was like, that's cool. That makes them like more, it fleshes them out,
Totally.
Makes them like real people.
It was really cool. It was a really cool song too.
Yeah, it was. And like, it was cool. They probably wrote that in. I'll bet he was already, he was already friends with Reggie, and it was like, oh, this guy plays guitar. Cool.
And they're really playing. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. I noticed that too. They're really playing.
The ice cream truck.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up, man. Another ice cream truck. This is what I'm talking about, man. Like being able to be an independent, businessman, ice cream truck driver in the 80s.
Oh, that's right.
Like this is like the fourth movie.
When was that you were talking about that? It was your like dream job?
Well, it's talking about how cool the 80s was that you could do that. And it happens all the time. Like how like common was this,
I don't know, man. Like, I mean,
what's the thing? Is it like looked at like a get rich quick scheme, or is it like a, like what is it? Like, it's so weird.
It's weird that it's evolved now. I don't know. I don't know if it's like this in the suburbs, but in the city, in the summertime, man, you get these dudes who are like, it's a bike with the ice cream part attached to the front.
Yeah.
And they're all over the lake shore, like the lake path and stuff. So it's still something that happens. But when I was a kid, I mean, that was a real thing. Like the ice cream truck was like a real
in
deal.
the burbs. It was, and I've only seen it once since then.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it's driving around waiting for kids to stop. It was at like an event, like where it was at like fireworks, where you go to a parking lot and, this guy just rolled up and parked,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if the ice cream man's still around. I'll have to let you know this summer.
Yeah. Let me know if you see him and keep an eye on him, man. Because usually the ice cream man, yeah, they can be like the hero, like Reggie here. But they can also be like in Spawn, where like he's gathering kids and eating them and like using, I don't know, whatever, like some kind of weird Gacy thing. Wasn't Gacy? John
I don't think
Gacy?
he drove an ice cream truck. He was a clown, but I don't think he had an ice cream truck.
I thought there was an ice cream guy.
It's Clint Howard and Ice Cream Man.
I still haven't seen that. I need to see that. The fortune teller. So at this point, all right. So Mike, the kid, he's spying on everybody, and he sees all this shit going on. He sees that something's up with the tall man lifting the coffin, all that shit. He's following his brother everywhere. There's this fortune teller, which is a weird scene with the girl. Like he goes to this that was rundown house, and this like pretty young girl answers the door and brings him in. He's like, I got to see your grandma and talk to her. And she's like this fortune teller. And they had the whole thing with the Dune box, puts his hand in there.
It was, I kind of expected a lot of that to like come back, and it doesn't really,
Well, it's weird because she says if he leaves, Mike's afraid that his brother's going to leave without him because their parents are dead and Mike and Jody is taking care of Mike. Like she tells him if he leaves, he's going to take you with him. But then flash forwarding to the end of the movie where it's all like a dream and Jody's dead and all this stuff. So he didn't take him with him.
Yeah, we'll get to that ending.
Yeah. But as far as like this goes, when all of this ends, this scene with the fortune teller,
yeah,
Mike leaves, and then the girl and the fortune teller lady are like laughing together. What's that? Like, were they just feeding him a bunch of bullshit? And maybe that's why the ending happened the way it did.
I don't know, because that's the other thing. Like scenes like that, like when are they a dream? Are they not? Like, is it like, a lot of this is like, it's got a real, is it Dallas? Like, It's got a real like feel to like when he wakes up at the end, it's like, wait, what is this? A jump forward? Is this a
right?
What is it? Like, did he dream the whole movie?
Right.
Like, it's a real weird ending.
Well, like you said, like none of this stuff that he hears from the fortune teller comes to fruition, but maybe that's because when the scene ends and they're laughing, it is because they're feeding him a bunch of bullshit, and that's why none of it came to life. I don't know.
I mean,
because when you're watching it and they start laughing, you're like, what is that? Like,
yeah, I feel like there's like either a deleted scene or like, I don't know. Yeah, like there needs to be more context.
And then I don't think we see her again. We see the girl again, which is another scene that like she goes to the mortuary and goes inside and then screams and it cuts. We don't see her again, which is weird.
Yeah.
But then we get the scene where he meets the tall man in hot girl form, and they go for the walk into the graveyard and start to mess around. Again, I love this scene, man. It's hilarious. Like Mike's still following them. So he's in the bushes spying on them, and they're kind of getting it on this grave. First of all, like this, I don't know. I guess this is a thing that people do when they're dumb, but I would never do this. You're absolutely begging for a curse or like something bad to happen, zombies. I don't know what, man, doing this in a graveyard.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that when I was watching, I'm like, oh man. Yeah. I don't think I would ever do it either.
It's just bad news.
Yeah. I don't like to be in graveyards. Like there's a graveyard. There used to be a graveyard on my way home from school, and you could cut through it and you would I would get home sooner. But like it was an older one, so there's no paths or anything. Yeah. It's just a big field of graves. And I never took it because I'm like, I don't like, even when I go to cemeteries, I don't like stepping on.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm not a superstitious guy. I'm just like, I try and avoid.
Respectful.
Yeah. But like when I see movies all the time where people are just riding their bikes.
Dude,
right
Mike
over
is riding his dirt bike through this graveyard, like kicking up grass and all that shit.
Yeah, man.
It's insane. But I love this scene, like, because they're messing around and then Mike hears the demon, the Jawas in the bushes. And then he's like, and he sees one charge at him, which is a really cool scene. And then Mike goes just like plowing. He's like screaming. He's running. He runs past his brother, and his brother, like, he's making out with the tall man, hot chick. And he's like, he just stands up and he's like, wait here. He's like, I think that was my brother and he's got problems. wait here.
Yeah.
And then he goes chasing his brother, and they cut back and they show the chick laying on the grave, and she's just like, she doesn't get up or anything. She's just laying there.
No, like an alien.
Her legs are like, what? It was insane.
I tell you, but you know what? Getting back to like that graveyard scene, I really thought about like they did a really great job of like doing the whole like did I see that? Like, you know, every time he turns and like he kind of half sees something go behind a grave, and it's like real quick, and if you blink, you miss it, and that happens a bunch in this movie. So you buy that he's like, I don't like when he's trying to explain it to Jody, and he's like, what is it? And he's like, I don't know, but it's a thing, and it's like he's accurately describing what we've been seeing.
Sure.
You know, and it's, you know, it's not Mike to, or is it Mike to, it's not like they could just say, hey, it's this thing. Like he really doesn't know. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Mike sees that stuff too when he's at the beginning, when he's like in the mortuary after the funeral. There's a couple times where the Jawas like are scurrying around the mortuary, and he's just kind of like hanging out and doesn't really acknowledge what he's seeing, even though he's seeing it. Kind of the dream that Mike has, where he's in bed and then he like looks up and the tall man's over him, and then the zombies come out of the ground on the sides and grab him.
Yeah, that was awesome. Bed.
Dude, when I was a kid, I had that exact dream like all the time, of like waking up, someone's standing over me, you know, fucking with my bed in some way. I don't know if that's a kid thing or what.
I don't know. That never
seeing it in this movie, I was like, Jesus Christ.
He just knows how to lay out a shot, man. Like
Coscarelli.
Yeah. Like how to make it as creepy and eerie as possible, you know?
There's a ton of times. A lot of it is with the tall man, like whether he's like in that dream scene, or there's several times where he like kicks open a door or is at a window. The use of Angus Scrimm. There's a lot of really cool shots when he uses him like that. The one where he's like downtown and walking down the street and stops in front of the ice cream truck, you know?
Yeah.
And he like smells or something. He like,
it just like he's in the center of the frame, and it just looks cool, man. You know,
there's like mist, and Angus Scrimm, like he's like smelling something. It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the next scene, was him doing that. And like Mike sees him from across the way. Then we get the first time we see the death ball.
So the death ball, or whatever it's called, it actually has a name later. Does it? So what's wild is I saw this thing. Okay, so when Nintendo 64 came out, there weren't a lot of games for it, but there was a game called Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
Yeah. I know Turok.
Okay, or I think it was Turok 2. Either way,
I know Turok from the Valiant comics.
Yeah, so he had a video game, and it had a pretty badass multiplayer mode. I think it was the second one, where you ran around and you tried to kill your friends, right?
Yeah.
And there was a weapon in this game called the cerebral boar.
What is it?
It's called the cerebral boar.
Okay.
And it's literally this,
really?
Like, and it's not just a ball that comes and like attaches to your head and kills you. I mean, it attaches to your head. It shoots all your brains and shit out of the back of it. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bigger in the game, but I mean, when I saw this, I was like, that's like they literally took this and put it in a video game.
Yeah.
Like it's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Because that game was like, I think it was like 95 or 96 when.
Oh, it was later than that. Maybe it was. Yeah, you're right. Maybe around.
Because Acclaim bought Valiant Comics, and they got the rights to Turok and a couple other characters. And that's when they made those video games.
Yeah. But I remember when I saw, I'm like, that's the cerebral boar. That's wild that like, they blatantly just put it in the movie.
Yeah.
Know?
Well, the movie came first.
I mean, sorry. Yeah. In the game.
In the video game. I mean.
Yeah.
And this is where Mike breaks into the mortuary at night to go and investigate. And that's when he's like chased by the dude who gets the ball in the head, is like some kind of,
they have him listed as a caretaker. He's like a henchman.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he gets it like, it's a really cool effect when they show it from the side.
Yeah.
And the ball is like attached, like stuck into his head. And then the drill comes in and starts drilling away. Like, it looks really good.
Yeah. They shot it. So they cut it together. That's one of the things I looked into. They shot most of that in reverse. Like they shot it and then rewound the footage, know, and then had a fake head when it was actually drilling in. And it was, man. And it looked great.
It looked like a real head. Like it looked like it was really doing something. I don't know.
It was, yeah, it was something else. I gotta say though, with Mike, like, and then Jody later, they're asking for all this.
Oh yeah.
Like they like at no point, like they could leave at any point. They're not being pursued. Like, I mean, they kind of are in the beginning by, he's, he turned into the hot chick and trying to hook up with Jody. But like once they're onto it, like they get in like Scooby-Doo mode and they're like breaking. They like at the point where Jody breaks in after he shows him the finger. I'm like, you guys are like, what are you doing? Leave this alone. Yeah. Like you deserve everything you get here. Right. Stop like they break into this mortuary like 3 times. Yeah. Like to investigate.
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
And this first one is where he gets the finger and like, ends up after the dude gets the ball in his head, Tall Man starts chasing him, which is terrifying. And then they have that showdown almost like where, isn't this the scene where Mike's like, they're in the mortuary or maybe it's later on in the movie. I don't know. But this is where he chases him, shuts the door, and his hand is like still moving, stuck in the door. And then Mike cuts off the fingers. And it's this like yellow.
It's yellow. It's like bright yellow. It looked really grossness.
Cool. Yeah, it looked great. And
it was really off-putting too, because if it was blood, the hand looked a little goofy, but it was moving.
Yeah.
And then when it landed, when he chopped off the fingers, they were crawling around on the floor. I was like, that's neat. Like there's got to be there's got to be little remotes in there, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was solid, but having it yellow was real off-putting and really was like, oh, these guys aren't human.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess it's weird. I've just never thought about this as being like an alien thing. I've always thought about it as being more of like a demon thing.
Yeah.
Because it's even at the beginning, like, or during either at the beginning or the trailer, they define phantasm, like what it is. And it's like, blah, 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 ghost, several things that they list. And then the final one is like ghost. So I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't even say alien. I just, for lack of a better word, because it seems like they're from another dimension. Yeah, right. It's they didn't come here on a spaceship or anything.
Right. So so he gets the fingers and he takes them home to show Mike, and he's got him in this box, and he's like trying to tell Mike, convince him. He's like, all right, just take a look. They open the box, and the fingers like in the box crawling. And I love Mike's or Jody's reaction. He's like, yeah, okay, I believe you.
Yeah. That was great. That was a real good.
But then he's like, all right, so we're gonna go to the sheriff. So go get your evidence. And he goes to get the box. He opens it again, and it's turned into this. The finger is turned into this like giant mutant fly.
Yeah, and this was the point where I'm like, okay, literally anything's on the table. Like that. Yeah. They didn't. And not every movie. Like we're not going to establish any rules or like weaknesses or like this is what this thing can do. It's literally like anything. This thing can do anything. If you chop off its finger, the finger can turn into a bat, which is cool. It's neat,
And Red shows up. No, totally. And it's like Red shows up. They're trying to shove it down into the garbage disposal to kill it. I love though, like when they're wrestling with it in the shirt, like
and they're just it reminded me of Basket Case.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like when he's going up the stairs and he's just like wrestling with this basket.
Totally. That's awesome. Like the direction for that scene, because he passes it, Mike's wrestling with it, and then he passes it to Jody, and then Jody's wrestling with it. And that would have been, I bet that was a super fun scene to film. And then Red shows up. Red is like, hey guys, what's going on? And then it comes back out of the garbage disposal or the disposal. And so at this point, this is where like everybody's in. Everybody has seen some weird shit and knows some weird shit's going on. And this is where I love like, all right, what do we do about it? The next time we see Reg after this, he's like, here's the plan, man. We're going to go. And he's like, we're going to go up there. We're going to get this guy and we're going to kill him. And that's like the plan.
I love the plans. That all right, man, let's just chill. Like, or do they know at this point that they're like resurrecting dead people?
Well, after the garbage disposal scene, Mike goes up there to investigate and then gets chased by the hearse. And then Jody goes up there, gets chased by the hearse. Mike shows up with the car. And then this is where they crash the hearse and find out that it was being driven by the Jawa, who is their friend's head body thing. And that's when they call Reg in. And that's officially where Reg is involved, because they're like, we're going to put it in the back of your ice cream truck for now.
I did want to bring something up that I thought was really funny. Was that they took the time to be like Jody explains like gun safety to Mike, being like, here's the deal, man. Don't point it at something unless you intend to shoot it. And don't, he's like, warning shots are bullshit. Don't, like, he explains, like, don't fuck around with this thing. And then the next scene when he's in there and he gets attacked by the little person and it's on his back.
Yeah.
He almost shoots himself in the head. He just like waves the gun around and like barely doesn't shoot himself in the head. It's like, holy cow, man. Like, I get you're being attacked, but totally. Jesus.
That's an awesome scene because he's like, you know, he goes in and the same way that Mike went in. And at this point, they're probably wise to it. So one of the demons is waiting, or one of the Jawas is waiting, and he kind of rises up behind him and then jumps on his back. But yeah, I totally
they time that out. Like how, because he had to shoot a blank, but you can't just shoot a blank in someone's face. You know, like, sure. I wonder if because he hits him and he shoots the gun and the guy falls off right away. Like it looks like he shoots him off his back. Yeah. And then he shoots him a couple more times because he's just like keeps coming. But yeah, that shot is crazy because he's like trying to like figure out where the dude is on his back. It's insane. Yeah, that was nuts. So then they call Reg after the crash and they put the Jawa in the back. Reg ends up driving to take Mike to a safe place so that he and Jody can like go and finish this thing. And then the ice cream truck, the Jawa in the ice cream truck comes back to life and crashes Reg's car, the ice cream truck. And at the same time, the two chicks who are like babysitting Mike, they come up on the ice cream truck and they see the wreckage and they get attacked by the Jawas. So at this point, like everybody's getting jacked up. This scene is crazy where they get into the girl's car and one of them's in the back, one of the Jawas in the back seat wrestling with Mike. Yeah. And then Mike like flies out the back window as the car goes. I mean, and they show like the plate glass like breaking as Mike like goes flying out the back. It was and it was well choreographed too. Like, you know, where everybody is and it's, you know, it was solid. Those girls, like, it felt bad because they're literally like not really brought up until like, hey, yeah, you just go stay with them. And then they're just, they get kidnapped, you know. Right. And Mike ends up going back to the house and Jody's like has that weird dream while he's waiting of like being in the mortuary and the Jawa's like grabbing him and shit. And then he wakes up and Mike's there and he locks Mike. He locks Mike in the room. He's like, I'm going to go now by myself. Reg is dead. Everybody's dead. I'm going to go solve this. And he locks Mike in the room with a screwdriver. And then Mike has this like, he MacGyvers this. Oh, like, dude, I love this so much. I remember thinking like, why not go out the window? But yeah, maybe you can't, you know, maybe you're too high, but it's like a hammer. Yeah. He puts a thumbtack. He has a shotgun shell with him from earlier. And he takes the hammer, he takes a tack and he punctures a hole in the shotgun shell. Right. And then I think he glues it, or he tapes it. He's got tape. He tapes it to the end of a hammer and then he hits the hammer and it blows up the door. You think that would work? I think so. I mean, why not? I think that when he did it, I feel like if you did that in real life and you smacked it like he did, wouldn't the buckshot just like fly everywhere? Because the barrel of the shotgun is kind of controlling the direction of the buckshot. Sure, but go forward. You don't need. But all you need to do is destroy the door. Like, but wouldn't you catch shrapnel on yourself? You think? Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they should do a MythBusters on it. Yeah, that would be awesome. Don't try that at home if you're listening to this podcast. But like, yeah, that would be a crazy thing. Ever since I saw this movie for the first time, I'm like, that's really awesome. Because they take the time to show like he punctures it with the tack. Like, it's not just like put the shotgun shell and hit it with a hammer. Like, right. There's like a method that goes into it. Like, I love that the kid is like, why is Jody even attempting to keep, like, it's like the fifth time he's like, stay here in this movie. Yeah. And he's just not, like, at this point, like, dude, this kid is not going to listen to you. Like, there's no way you can keep him. I mean, you know, it's a nice attempt with the screwdriver, but no, definitely. And their relationship, I don't know what movie it was that maybe it was Lost Boys. I love when there's a cool, like, brother relationship. These guys definitely have, you know, there's that scene in the beginning or towards the beginning where some random friend shows up at their house while Mike, which is also like double cool because it's Jody's car, but Mike is obviously the one who keeps it up. He works on it. Yeah.
They show that a couple times, but this random friend shows up and he's like, "Hey, Jody, what's up? I'm surprised you're still in town after everything. And, the parents dying and friend dying, all this stuff." And he's like, "I'm taking care of the kid. I love this guy." And right from that point, we established that like the relationship these two have is pretty tight, pretty cool.
Yeah.
But he does spend the whole movie trying to keep him from.
Yeah. And he also says he's going to drop him off with his aunt, which is
that is weird. And that's where
but also like, yeah, he's, I don't know how old Jody's supposed to be, but that's a lot to take on,
totally. And at the same time, it's like, and then the ending of this movie really reshapes the entire movie once you watch the ending. We'll get to that point, but as far as it goes in the moment, yeah, that whole aunt thing where he's going to drop it his aunt's is like, yeah, if I was Mike, I'd be fucking worried too. My parents are dead. The only person that I have is my brother. Yeah. But it's not like it's not like Jody's trying to pawn him off. I think he just has reached a point where it's like a lot of heavy shit that's been happening. But yeah, he's constantly trying to keep him in one spot. And Mike is just like, he's not mischievous. He just wants to be with his brother. He wants to know that his brother's there and stuff. So that takes you to like with the car crash. I thought that was a pretty like cool, once after he escapes with the shotgun thing on the door and he goes and he gets captured by the tall man, shows up at his house and he gets captured by him. I love the scene where he's like, every time he opens the door and he's just there. He opens the window. He's just there. He comes in and this is the first time we hear him like, boy.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, dude.
And he kidnaps him. He puts him in the hearse, which is a really cool, like villain car, especially for this dude. Obviously it's on the nose, but
it's funny awesome. That like, it was another thing where it's like, there's a couple things like, he's got all these like supernatural things that he can do. And it's funny that he just still has to drive a car. You know what I mean? Like, like at the very end, where he's just chasing him, like you'd think he would be like, I'm going to send my whatever after you or shoot something at, but like, he's just literally just running after him. Like an old man,
like through the woods and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Like how they eventually get him,
Yeah. But when he captures him, he puts him in the hearse. Mike pulls out his fucking Magnum or whatever.
Yeah, man.
He shoots.
This guy's into guns.
Yeah, but he knows he shoots the glass out of the back, but then he knows where to shoot to hit the tire from the inside of the car. And he hits the tire and the tire blows.
Isn't that bullshit? I think they did. I think they actually did this on Mythbusters.
Really?
If you can shoot out a tire
from the inside
of a moving car. And
wait, does he like in general? You talking about in general?
Yeah, like if you can actually do that.
I mean, it's a thing that cops do. I think they shoot the tires.
But while the car's moving,
I thought it was.
I don't think you can do that.
You don't think it makes sense, really?
I mean, I want to say they did. I wish I remembered it.
Like the spinning of the tire, like is too much for a bullet to like
puncture it. Yeah.
I don't know. It would make sense if that's the case.
I'm gonna pull it up. We'll put it in the Patreon. We'll figure it out. Cool.
Either way, like the fact that it's kind of a detail that whether it's true or not to show Mike, like, I don't know, no care. I've never seen
he's like capable, like he
he's
knows,
capable. Yeah. I love that. And he makes it back. He gets out of the hearse, jumps through the window, and the hearse crashes. Tall man blows up. Obviously he's not going to be dead. Mm-hmm. But then he shows up, he goes back into the mortuary where he knows Mike went by himself. I love it's a cool scene where, tall man is back there again and he's got Jody. That's
why Mike went back because he's got Reggie and the girls too.
Well, Jody pops out first and shoots the ball tall man sends the ball at him and he shoots the ball and it explodes. And then Reggie shows up and we see that he wasn't dead after all, which is cool. Which is cool.
It was like, well, wait, what? He's like, doesn't he say like, well, they brought me back here, but I got away.
Yeah, and he saved the two girls, I guess.
Yeah,
it was all funny too.
Off camera, I definitely saved those girls.
He's like,
someone was like, hey, we don't have to go look for them because I did it already. Let's go.
I don't know. It's kind of like trimming the fat. I mean, it's kind of cool that, although I would have liked to see a heroic moment.
I tell you what, if the girls had more in the movie, then you have to do that scene. But
totally, they just kind of came out of nowhere as babysitters for Mike. But yeah, so they do that. So now they're together. Like the three guys are together. And they find the room. Mike's like, we gotta check this door out. Has a bunch of heads over it. They go in the door, and this is where we see it's the portal. where it's like a bunch of like canisters with like it's almost like the ones from Return of the Living Dead that they have the toxic shit in, you know, where tar comes out of.
Yeah.
I wish they had, because they look into the canisters and they're like, oh fuck, there's dwarves in there. I wish they had shown in, you know?
Yeah.
To like see what they were seeing.
There's a few things in this movie like that where it's, you know, yeah, I mean, we were just talking about the scene where Reggie goes and rescues the girls. He gets there and has to escape. First, he has to escape them. And I mean, it's a lot of like, why didn't you do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, there's not a lot. This movie's only an hour and a half. So there's not a lot of like extra shit, but that's something that you definitely would like to see. So they're in there in this room. It's a bunch of these canisters. And then we see these two looking, what are they, like not pedestals, but like poles, like half stripper poles.
Yeah. And the room is different too, like than the rest of it. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely like weird, bare, like bone white, or just stark white. It looks like an iPod. You know, like it just looks like, this doesn't belong in a mortuary.
Oh, totally. Especially in the 70s. It's like, what is this? And then Mike figures out that between the two poles, it's a door. It's like a gateway to the shitty realm, whatever it is, where the little people live. And he gets sucked into it. And so for a brief moment, we see, at least, I don't know, I guess this is where I don't know.
I dug it.
Like,
yeah.
Tall Man is making these guys. Is it where they come from or what? Like,
yeah, I got the vibe that's where they come from. But again, like him, it's like not beyond comprehension. It's just like, it doesn't make any sense to us because we have no content. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big red hole and there's a bunch of weird shit, but like,
it's really barren. And it's just like, we see like a bunch of the Jawas like carrying these barrels in like a single file line, and there's nothing else. Like a desert it's all red. It's just a weird place. I'm sure the sequels go into like what that place actually is. Yeah, and I would definitely like to get more on that.
I am interested in the sequels for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to watch at least one of them today.
But but when Jody rips him out of there, it's
like, he catches him by the pants and he just like,
but like he had been falling forever.
Right.
And like, you know, it reminded me of in Lord of the Rings when Sam goes in the water and he's like drowning, and then all of a sudden
like a half an hour. And then
he's very deep in the water, and then all of a sudden like just this arm comes, and it's like, how long is this guy's arm? How is that? Was he only like 6 feet underwater?
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird scene in Lord of the Rings.
And it is. I think it's just played for the dramatic,
it is.
You know, sense of it. But like every time I watch that scene, I'm like, how long, like what's happening here? Like somebody, there's
a few things like that in Lord of the Rings and water. Like in that the Gollum origin scene that I hate. It's the one. I love Lord of the Rings. That's the one scene I would take. Yeah, I hate that scene.
You mean when he's a hobbit still?
Yeah. Like I don't mind I don't mind the scene where he's like been ousted and he's like freaking out and all that stuff. Like that's all fine. I hate the fishing scene and that he still talks like that.
Yeah.
And that it really annoys me. Like I really hate that scene.
and that it's just Andy Serkis. I actually hate the other guy, whoever he is.
The character's name is Deagle, which is another annoying thing. Smeagol and Deagle. Yeah. Everything about that scene fucking bugs me. And there's another big thing is that they weren't, when you watch all the bonus shit, you realize Andy Serkis wasn't even going to be a big part of the movie.
Oh, really?
Initially. Yeah. That's why like in the first movie, Gollum looks super. I mean, there's only one shot of Gollum and it's from far away.
Right.
He looks super different.
Yeah. Because
they were like, we're going to, and he was Andy Serkis was the guy they hired to play Gollum, but I think they were going to just do basic stop motion and not incorporate like his personality and all that shit. Like it wasn't going to be, but anyway. But like in the bonus features, they talk about how like, we had to reshoot every scene twice because like we wanted to get the whole thing. You could tell that Sean Astin was irritated too.
Really?
It's a bunch of scenes like that. But anyway,
the other dude's name was Deagle.
Yeah.
I always think of, wasn't Mrs. Deagle, the bitch in Gremlins?
Oh, maybe.
The woman who threatened to kill the dog and
it is.
I remember one of the Gremlins when I was a kid. I used to do this. One of the Gremlins goes like, Deagle, 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 Deagle. Like when they're about to like send her up the stairs.
That's right. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Good catch, man.
So, all right. So
back to this movie.
Yeah. So they're in the portal. Oh, so then Reggie he remembers when he was playing guitar, the tuning fork. And for some reason, like, oh, well, I guess the lights go out before that or something. Yeah. The lights go out before that for some reason. And everybody gets separated. It's weird because they're all in the same room.
The lights just go out.
The lights go out. And then Mike and Jody end up outside, but Reggie is still inside. It's weird.
Yeah. I remember thinking like, oh, what a goofy way to like take down the heroes. It's just like, just turn the lights off. Like, that's it.
Yeah. They come back on and Reggie's like, I know what to do. He's like, I used to have a tuning fork when I played guitar.
Yeah.
And he like puts his hands on the two poles. Everything stops. And we see like the tall man.
That's a big gamble, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Oh, this thing works like a tuning fork. That's that I just found out existed 5 seconds ago.
Totally. We see like the tall man as the sexy chick, like kind of like become paralyzed in some weird way as he's about to attack Jody outside.
Yeah.
And all this is because of Reggie like stopping the vibrations or whatever. And then everything starts sucking and Reggie climbs out, like crawls out of the room, and they all reconvene outside just as like the tall man comes back around and stabs Reggie.
And I thought Reggie was going to make it out for sure.
Like it's the girl it's the sexy girl, and he comes to help her, and then it turns into the tall man and stabs him.
It was a real like, oh man, I thought he was going to make it,
which I guess
he does, but it was like
for the moment he's dead again, and Mike and him are like, Mike and Jody are like, all right, we can't do anything for him. It's too windy. We got to get out of here. So they get out of there and go back to the house. And that's when they finally get their final plan where they're like, you go in, barricade yourself or whatever. And I'm going to go up to the mine shaft or wherever this is and like prepare it so that we can get him to fall in the mine. When he gets there, Jody looks like up on the hill and there's this weird light and some rocks. And then it cuts back to Mike at the house. Like they don't really explain what he's looking at with the light up there. And then it goes back to Mike at the house and the tall man is there and he breaks in through the window and he's like chasing him around. Boy, Mike gets him to chase him through the woods. Like you were saying earlier, where it's like, he's just like running. Which the tall man like chasing you is pretty freaky. They end up ironically at the mine shaft where Jody is, and tall man falls into the mine. And then all of a sudden, like these rocks start falling down on top of the tall man. Yeah. And it turns out that's what Jody was looking at with the light.
Yeah.
He was looking at some like rocks up there to push down, which these things are massive boulders, man.
Yeah. It was a little janky. And I wish they would have established this hole or these boulders like way earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh yeah, those boulders are up there. Or like, yeah, there's a hole down there that I can, it's a lot to come together all at once,
But then so then this takes us to the end where they kill the tall man. It's all over. I don't remember how the transition is from the mine scene with the boulders to Mike waking up he
basically like looks up at Mike. He gives him like a thumbs up, and then
Jody's up there like, we did it, bro, like that.
Yeah, and then he wakes up and he's talking to Reggie.
So and this is where we find out that it's all been a dream, kind of. And Mike's like explaining to Reggie, like, and that's my story, and that's what my dream.
That's what happened. That was the dream I just.
And Reg is like, man, it's okay. Like, it was all just a dream. That Jody died, in like a car accident or something.
Yeah, he says Jody died in a car accident.
Parents are dead, so it's like in reality, Reggie and Mike are the only ones left, and Reggie, being the good friend of the family and Jody's, has vowed to take care of Mike. They have their moment, but looking backtracking to Jody pushing the rocks and how, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It just seemed like knowing that it's a dream at this point, that it was all one of Mike's dreams. Looking back on that scene where Jody's up there and pushing the rocks and how convenient it was and how almost like it is almost dreamlike, that it's just like working out, that it all worked out so flawlessly, their plan, and that Jody was able to push these giant boulders.
Yeah. It was just like we were just saying, like, wait, come on, like, Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it does. It is very like dreamlike is a good word.
And like it worked out too like perfectly.
Yeah.
But it makes sense considering it was all a dream, which is weird.
Which I was expecting to change like that. Like, okay, like it was so weird. It was a weird ending on top of a weird ending, because then he goes in the room and he's like, man, I guess it was all a dream. And then the tall man like rips him through the mirror. And it's like,
right.
That's how it ends. Like, wait, what happened? Was any of this real? Like, what is this?
Totally. And that's why I want, and people, I don't know, people listen to this, I'm guessing have seen these. And I know there's people out there, these movies have a huge fan base, but I'm sure it's explained or at least like fleshed out a little more.
I'll bet there's more lore. Yeah, in later movies. Like I'm sure they establish, like they explain more,
Absolutely. Oh, I definitely want to watch those and then maybe revisit in like what'd you watch next episode or in a couple episodes, like where this went. Like the idea of it being a dream or not being a dream or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes I'll pull up like the Wikipedia article and just get like a summary, and sometimes it's better than the movie. Yeah,
I had seen this movie a couple times before and always enjoyed it. For what it was.
I did like it. It was solid. Like I wasn't blown away, but I think that's only because there was a lot of hype behind it, not just from you. Like once I realized, like, oh, there's a whole community. There's 6 of these. Fucking John Schnepp freaks out about him. Like,
yeah, John Schnepp, dude. Rest in peace. That dude was a huge fan of Phantasm. I think he interviewed Coscarelli when Ravager came out or was on the set or something. It had a lot, like was around that. And I think he might have even talked to Angus Scrimm at some point. I have to go back.
I mean, if he
that'd be cool to go back and check out when he was on Collider talking about this stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I dig this movie. I think the series as a whole is probably pretty solid. I watched all the trailers last night for the next movies and they look pretty dope. Definitely want to check those out. What else we got
next week? Well, we got a big surprise next week for
okay, so this is what we were talking about for next week. Next week is episode 50 of the podcast. Big 50. So that's a big thing for us. And then in a couple months we'll have our like 1 year. I don't know what episode that'll be. It'll be like, I don't know, probably around 55 or something like that.
Yeah,
60. But for episode 50, I have the letter Q, which is possibly the worse than O, possibly the worst letter out there. So we had the idea that we created this Kevin's wheel of, what'd you call it? Wheel of
options.
Kevin's wheel of options. And we're going to try to put it into play for next week. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a special YouTube video in a couple days of us actually spinning the wheel, and it'll be like a 10-minute or 15-minute video that we're going to put up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And you'll be able to see our pick. And basically how the wheel works is it's got 6 or 8 categories that don't have anything to do with horror. So it gives us a chance to step outside of our horror wheelhouse.
Because Q sucks.
Do something different. And Q is just like terrible. There's nothing. So that's the only time that we'll ever use this wheel is when we're just stuck.
Yeah. And we'll, but yeah, we'll have more details next week and it'll be cool.
Definitely. So we're going to do that. We'll spin the wheel, land on a category, have a handful of movies for every category, and pick a movie from there. It'll be stuff like robots, Christmas, I don't know, Thanksgiving movies, who knows what. It's going to be on the wheel. So we're going to do that. Look for that video in a few days. We'll post that. And that'll be what we're doing for episode 50, something different. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us on social media, you can find us Instagram, Twitter at Death by Podcast. If you want to support the show directly, also the YouTube channel, just look for Death by Podcast. We're building that up. Got some stuff on there. So yeah, go check out YouTube. If you want to support the channel directly, patreon.com/Death by Podcast, where we have our second bonus podcast, BoobTube TV, where we talk about a vintage horror TV show. This week we did Tales from the Crypt Keeper, the Saturday morning cartoon from the 90s. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. And I think that's about it. Thank you all for enduring my sickness.
You did it, man. That's
my voice. I did it. I'm glad we did it. I didn't want to miss it, but I'm exhausted. I am your host, Adam. There's your other host,
Kevin.
It's Miller time. That was a good one. considering what the Patreon one was. What you got, Kevin? Right. Anything? You got anything? Perfect. It's good stuff. All right, folks. Be safe. Stay healthy. Eat your vegetables. And we will see you next week for episode 50. Goodbye.